Acne, bloating, PMS, low sex drive, and even fertility issues point to a hormone imbalance. A hormone balancing detox is often the first step for your patient. This program reveals how to get things back on track fast. We're joined today by Dr. Yasmin Tasalloti. Dr. Tasalloti has a special focus on hormone health. Welcome to Nutramedica, Dr. Tasalloti.
Thank you so much for having me, Brian.
So I'm pretty sure that everyone, watching this program probably understands that we are increasing the toxic load in our bodies for all of the reasons that you mentioned on a daily basis. So let's get into how do we treat that? And this is about hormone balancing. So let's talk about, first of all, what hormones are we focusing on when we talk about hormone balancing?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of hormones that we could discuss, but for today's purpose, I'm just going to touch upon estrogen, progesterone, thyroid hormone, and cortisol.
Well, first of all, take me through. So we know that estrogen is a female sex hormone. Progesterone has a similar function. Tell us about the thyroid and the cortisol.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's an interplay between all hormones, but specifically between estrogen and thyroid, cortisol and estrogen. So when thyroid hormone is low, that can cause an increase in estrogen levels. And vice versa, when there's high estrogen levels, it can cause a decrease in thyroid hormone. So they have an inverse relationship.
Okay.
And same thing with cortisol. When cortisol is high, it can also impair the liver's ability to detoxify estrogen and cause high estrogen levels. So there's a lot of these inverse relationships happening.
And I understand that we're living in sort of an estrogenic, I don't want to use the word soup, but I suppose I just did. We're living in a environment where estrogen is becoming dominant, right? It's throwing other hormones out of balance. So maybe we can go into the symptoms. If your patient comes and they're starting to show some symptoms, how do you know that you should be looking at the hormones, and how do you know you should be looking at estrogen?
Yes. So you touched upon a few of those at the beginning in the intro about acne and infertility, PMS symptoms, endometriosis, PCOS, weight gain.
What about in men though? Because I know this doesn't just affect women, does it? It affects men.
Absolutely. Yep. So with men, they'll have lower testosterone levels. They will have an increase in their abdominal weight. And so the dad bod that is so popularly spoken of is an issue. They'll also have erectile dysfunction. They'll have mood imbalances. So absolutely affects both men and women.
And what about grooming products and so on, and in the environment? I mean, you hear about these things. There's a great website that I visited, skindeep.com.
Yeah. So thanks for mentioning that. So xenoestrogens, so all these chemicals from our personal care products are causing a lot of endocrine disruption. So absolutely, especially with men, like just those shaving gels and colognes, but also just the chemicals in our home and our office spaces, from the furniture, from the plastics that are covered. I mean, if you just go grocery shopping, everything nowadays is in a plastic container. Even the healthy, gluten-free, organic products are encased in plastics. So I think that in and of itself is just so huge in throwing off our hormones.
What happens next?
So next would be to, well, first would be to do that testing. So I really love hormone testing using the Dutch test because it gives a breakdown of all of the estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, DHEA. And if you do the cortisol panel too, I love having all of those hormones right off the bat.
Right.
And I love it because it gives us the different pathways. So phase one, phase two, and it even shows how well that person is able to methylate in that phase two of estrogen metabolism. So number one, I like to get a baseline. And then based upon that test and their symptoms, then we can dig in and determine, okay, how do we support, if it's a phase 1 issue, how do we support phase 2? How do I support phase 3 detox, which is in the gut, which then you can do a stool test for. If they do have any genetic issues, sometimes aside from that Dutch test, I can run an additional genomic panel for them. And then being able to fill the gaps with those targeted supplements that are helpful. So for instance, in phase 1, you really want to focus on those B vitamins. You want to focus on folate, NAC, glutathione, zinc, antioxidants. In phase 2, you're going to want to support COMT is that enzyme. And a lot of people can have genetic variations in it, and it can slow down the estrogen metabolism process. And so you want to support that via a whole host of different nutrients, including magnesium, SAMe, choline, beetroot. So there's a ton of different minerals and nutrients to be able to support those different pathways. And then you also want to make sure that so within that phase 1, for instance, there's 3 different metabolites of estrogen. So there's the 2-hydroxy, 4-hydroxy, 16-alpha hydroxy. And so you want to make sure that you're optimizing the proper pathway. So the most favorable one is that 2-hydroxy pathway. And so again, there's specific nutrients that can support that pathway and divert from the other pathways that can be harmful to the body.
I hope you enjoyed that highlight from a recent program on Nutramedica. If you want to get access to our full-length shows and live interactive events, you'll need to register as a healthcare professional at Nutramedica.org. To stay up to date with our latest programs, go ahead and subscribe to this YouTube channel, and don't forget to hit that notification bell. We'll see you soon at Nutramedica.org.